Supreme Court clearing the way for the Trump administration to tap billions of dollars in Pentagon funds to build sections of that border wall. Joining us to talk about, Robert Charles, Association of Mature Americans, former Assistant Secretary of State for President George W. Bush. I'm guessing the Supreme Court just recognized the guy's commander-in-chief, and part of the job here is to defend the United States, and that's what we're trying to do.
Well, I think you put your finger on it. You know, history, first of all, thank you for having me, and thank you for introducing AMAC, which is the conservative alternative to AARP for older Americans, and I'm a spokesperson for them, and I really, it's a privilege to work with them. You know, history is made by inches, and I think we got an inch yesterday, or actually on Friday. You described it exactly right. The Supreme Court has concluded that the president does have the authority under national emergency authority to transfer $2.5 billion from the defense budget to start building at certain portions of the border wall down on the southwest border. You know, the irony in all this is a top-level transfer. Top-level transfers are typically done by presidents all the time. This happens to have been for the border wall, but all the predicate was done correctly by this president, and the sequence is fascinating. This is only about a tenth of the money that he has asked for on the southwest border. We think that illegal crossings cost us about $165 billion a year. He's asked for a $25 billion direct and virtual wall, something that can begin to create a deterrent on both the drug issue, by the way, and illegal crossings. And what happened here? In February, he said, look, this has gotten to the point where it amounts to a national crisis, which is, he declared a national emergency. We have a lot of those, by the way, that are in motion right now. It is not a call to arms. It's a legal assessment. And how prescient was he? It looked like in February somehow, you know, maybe he was predicting something that wasn't going to happen. But in March, we had 103,000 undocumented crossings. We had in April 109,000. In May, 144,000, 12-year record. So he was prescient. And what did he do? He said, I just want to take a portion of the funding that isn't immediately needed in the defense budget, and I want to push it over there to start these contracts. Well, it wasn't more than a month or two, and a 49-year-old Obama-appointed judge from Oakland, California, Haywood Gillum, decided, hey, I know more about border and national security and about executive power and political imperatives than you do, and he threw down a preliminary injunction, which stopped it. A week later, a D.C. judge, who actually is a Republican appointee, said, no, that's not right. And so what did he do? He doubled down, and in June, this Obama-appointed judge issued a permanent injunction, and that blocked the building of portions of the wall at El Paso as well as Yuma, Arizona. And so what did the Supreme Court do on Friday? Major media really didn't cover it, but on Friday, on July 26th, in a 5-4 ruling, they made clear the president was right in all three areas. First, his transfer was legally permissible. Second, the national emergency was ample warrant for that transfer. And finally, the permanent injunction and the preliminary one before it by the Obama judge were unsustainable. What's really interesting about this, though, is it not only sort of puts the crack in the wall, so to speak, of the dam. It begins the process of allowing the president to do something he should have been able to do 3 years ago. But it also shows you that this Ninth Circuit is really out of step with reality. I mean, I clerked for a Reagan appointee on the Ninth Circuit in the 1980s, and it was a much more balanced circuit back then. Right now, it's kind of gone far left.
Right.
Sorry to interrupt, but we are pretty much out of time.
We hit the wall on time. Thank you, Robert. Robert Charles, Association for Mature Americans, former Assistant Secretary of State for President George W. Bush.